Now, you may think that the man who wrote one of the most beloved children's book series of all time kind of always liked kids. Not so. C.S. Lewis was on record as saying that before World War II brought children into his home, because he opened his home to children fleeing the Blitz happening in London, he said before that happened, he kind of really didn't care for children all that much, which is just an amazing thing to think about, someone who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia. But even before Lewis had that change of heart, Chesterton was planting seeds in Lewis's mind about the spiritual strength of youth. We know that because as Lewis read Orthodoxy, he made note of this beautiful passage in his index.
Because children have abounding vitality, because they are in spirit fierce and free, therefore they want things repeated and unchanged. They always say, "Do it again," and the grown-up person does it again until he's nearly dead. For grown-up people are not strong enough to exult in monotony. But perhaps God is strong enough to exult in monotony. It is possible that God says every morning, "Do it again," to the sun, and every evening, "Do it again," to the moon. It may not be automatic necessity that makes all daisies alike. It may be that God makes every daisy separately, but has never got tired of making them. It may be that He has the eternal appetite of infancy, for we have sinned and grown old, and our Father is younger than we.
Now, such a concept seems almost too fantastic. How can we think of our Heavenly Father as younger than us in any way? Well, Lewis once said something that might help us think through this. Quote, he said this, quote, "When I was 10, I read fairy tales in secret. Now that I'm 50, I read them openly. When I became a man, I put away childish things, including the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up. And I call that growth." So Lewis here has presented us with a very Chestertonian paradox. This is the way I like to think about it. To truly grow, we must keep what is childlike. Not childish, but childlike. To truly grow, we must keep what is childlike. But to remain childlike, we must mature beyond fear. Jesus himself said, "I tell you the truth, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." And Lewis would talk about this truth as well in the dedication at the beginning of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which he dedicated to his goddaughter, Lucy, the daughter of his inkling friend, Owen Barfield.
My dear Lucy, I wrote this story for you, but when I began it, I had not realized that girls grow quicker than books. As a result, you are already too old for fairy tales, and by the time it is printed and bound, you'll be older still. But someday, you will be old enough to start reading fairy tales again. You can then take it down from some upper shelf, dust it, and tell me what you think of it. Your affectionate godfather, C.S. Lewis.
His words seem to have been prophetic. Lucy Barfield did grow up, and when she did, she was sadly diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And she battled on and off for years, eventually ending up in the hospital and spending the last 13 years of her life there. During the last 5 of those years, when she could no longer speak or feed herself, she would love for her brother Jeffrey to get down from some upper shelf the Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and dust it off and read it to her over and over and over again. She had matured into childhood again.